Well, I am off, of course, to go see my honey. And the other day when I was talking to Alex at the radio station, there was mention that somebody at Northwood, not sure who, thought that they might like to have a podcast. And so I think I might talk to them and say that, look, I can do something. It's not a podcast, but I would do video interviews, maybe called People of Northwood. And it's just something to discuss, you know. It gets my creative juices and my focus on projects going. It would have to be on my terms, very casual, just if they would allow me to have access to some people there, whether it's staff or residents or a combination of both. I think it could be a beautiful thing. So anyways, I'm packing up a few things in my bag here to take to Heather. And yeah, we'll see how the visit goes. It is Monday afternoon, and I'm headed over to see Heather for supper, to help her with her supper. And I also started working on the hot tub because that froze up in February, and it sprung a leak. So that was like some February night. It was pretty cold out, and I looked out the back door and there was vapor, mist, steam coming off the back deck. I thought, oh, that doesn't look right. So I had a look. It was leaking. I just turned off the power, opened the drain, and walked away from it. And I haven't had the heart to look at it since. Well, last week I had a guy in to find the leak. It was an inexpensive part, just a piece of plastic that broke. I wouldn't have found it, but he knew exactly where to look. And I ordered the new part, and I cleaned out the tub, and I'll get that restored. I'll get that ready for the summer. It's probably a good sign. And Heather and I sure enjoyed many, many evenings sitting in that hot tub together with music and colored LED lights and a glass of wine and a beer, listening to some good tunes, relaxing. And those days are over, but I'll try to enjoy it. So I have to grab my bike keys, and then I'm heading out. So the word is out. There's free bird seed at Northwood. You guys having a nice lunch? Free bird seed. Free grass seed. So that was my typical visit there, I guess. Show up and take what comes. Just so happened when I arrived, Heather was down and slumped. And of course I worry about things. I think, oh my God, it's a terrible thing that she's slumped over. Something's going bad or whatever. And I wish I didn't immediately jump to that kind of negative thinking, but I suppose it's probably just that ongoing drive to be protective of her and to fix things and to make things good. I guess that's what made me a good husband and a good caregiver. So I'm just programmed that way. And then, she perked up a bit. I didn't get any smiles or recognition from her at all. We sat and held hands for a while, and she, her fingers moved over my hands a little bit, but I don't think that was any kind of a display of affection at all. And then anyways, but lunch, typical Northwood lunch there. I perk up from talking to the staff and being with the other residents. So typical Northwood lunch was, this was quiche with spinach salad with, egg and red onion and a poppy seed dressing. And then a quarter of a ham sandwich on whole wheat bread. And then lemon pudding for dessert. And there was some kind of orange beverage and water. And then they always bring me a cup of tea as well. So sitting outside for some fresh air always helps. I might perk Heather up a little bit for lunch. So I've got the AirPods set up. I've got one in my left ear. Heather has one in her right ear. And we're listening to her favorite music, Enya, together. So, no road trip is complete without a stop at Tim Hortons, where I will get a plain donut to share with my little puppy. Right, Penny?
Data breach. The ransomware hack affected school boards in multiple Canadian provinces, including Nova Scotia. Also in the news, the Canadian...
Heather and I have driven this road so many times, and there are all these landmarks. For example, this building here, I think it's a seasonal place, and it was built by the Bishop Waterman. I don't have any details on who Bishop Waterman was, but he was somebody. And this is Waterman's Lake, so that's quite a pretty scene. And this is typical of rural Nova Scotia, secondary highways. I don't know what the population density is, but it's quite sparse. And there's the occasional little, well, community or village. I don't even think most of the spots along this road qualify as villages. But they probably were busier once upon a time when the resource extraction industries were a little bigger, had bigger markets. They used to do a lot of logging here, and they had shingle mills and lumber mills, and there was even gold mining in this area, in the Caledonia area. They pulled a fair bit of gold out of the ground. And of course there was also wilderness stuff, fishing and hunting, and I guess wealthy Americans would come here, and local guides would take them fishing and hunting. That was a big part of it here. Here's a spot called Brookfield Mines, and I don't know, I would say like 150 years ago, 200 years ago, I don't know, something like that, there were gold mines back here. So, but in general, the area is quite sparsely populated, and that's just the way it is. It's probably the same in much of the rest of the world. This is our little village. It's the biggest one around, I guess. And it even has a hardware store, or a home hardware. And, believe it or not, it has a community swimming pool and a health clinic. So you know there's stuff going on here. And a sidewalk. So this is pretty advanced civilization. So the roads just get successively smaller until we're on my little dirt lane to our cottage. And smaller. This is actually the back driveway. So here is the shack, as I like to call it. And it's pretty palatial as far as the cottage goes. This is all Heather's idea. This is her. She insisted on having it open like this because when we built this, we lived in a house in the west end of Halifax, kind of low and dark, and it was, closed in and almost claustrophobic. And so she said, well, if we're going to build a cottage, let's make it cathedral-like, looking out over the lake. And that is what we did. And I don't regret it for a moment. It's made some of the building a bit of a challenge, but that's a view. There's nothing over there. Not a single cottage. And there might be 20 cottages on this side of the lake. And we are in the middle of 4 acres. 4 acres right on the water. So this is very special. I understand that. I appreciate that. I mean, I don't know. I maybe I'll get used to being here on my own. I don't know. The minute I start thinking about it, you know, everywhere I look, there's touches of Heather. She's done everything here. I did all the construction and she did all the decorating, and you know, she put up these are watercolors, mostly by my mom. And then these are by our son Peter. And you know, the painting by my mom over there, and another one up there. Anyways, this place is full of memories. I'm not staying long this trip. I'm going to hook up the water pump and put the float out, and then it's available for family and friends to enjoy as much as they want. So that's it for now. I'm going to get busy. Oh boy. So this this whole thing here is such an incredible mess. But you know, it's probably not unfamiliar to some of you do-it-yourself cottagers. And you know, I built all this stuff. We had no money, no extra money, so I was scrabbling it together. I think the kids were very small. Yeah, they were born. They were very small, like 5 and 7 or something like that. So, you know, we didn't have a lot of free time to come and work. I was heavily involved as a father because Heather was working shift work at the time. So all that is, oh, the pump is running. All that is just excuses to cover up my extremely amateur plumbing job, and in fact my amateur carpentry job too. So who cares? It's a cabin in the woods that gets very little use, and you might say it's kind of quaint. So let's have another quick look at this disastrous plumbing job. And I tell you, it's so frustrating to try to get one of these pumps working if you have a hard time priming it. And I have like 30 feet of 1.25 inch hose, and it's hard to prime. Anyways, the water is on. Whoever wants to come out here can come out and enjoy it. So I'm having a little work done. The driveway washed out, and so they're going to fix it up and put a drain pipe, a culvert at the top of this, just past that chain. And I dare say I hear, it sounds like there's a machine, an excavator or something coming down the hill. Maybe the guy's here already, I don't know. So you know, this is good for the kids or whoever's going to use the cottage. Yeah, there's some big machine coming down the driveway here. Okay, so that's great. He's bringing a dump truck down too, and he's going to ditch here. And these guys, they just have a sixth sense. They have a sixth sense for how to do this type of work. And there's nothing I can offer other than just the information I conveyed. He's the expert here, so I'm going into town to get some stuff, and you know, they won't be long working on this old original driveway where we used to get stuck. But with my new Subaru, it just walks up the hill. So back when we were more or less given the place by my dad. It was just a lot in the middle here. I've since bought that one and that one, but this was the extent of the road. It stopped here. There's a round area here, and this was just forest. It went down, and there was a shack way down there, a cabin, and it was a dump. I mean, this was made with all kinds of scavenged and recycled materials, as people used to do. And the guy tried to power, there was no electricity here, he tried to power it with batteries, telephone companies' batteries. These are big lead acid batteries. And then he thought he would get a generator, so he drove an old Toyota truck down here, welded a frame for it. He was a welder, and he dragged the motor, this 4-cylinder Toyota truck motor, pickup truck motor, down into the woods, and that was his generator to charge these batteries. I mean, it was horrible. And they had an old cast iron Keymax type of stove, or maybe it was a wood/oil stove in this cabin that was ready to fall apart. It was terrible. But it was our place. And Heather and I used to come out here, and she would try to make it a decent spot. She'd clean up and paint, and I was working on it as well, although I saw that it didn't have any redeeming value. But, you know, she tried her best. And then I remember we decided to get rid of the engine pretty quickly. So the two of us hauled it up out of the woods with a come-along, like, you know, a foot at a time. And this took us like 3 days. And we hauled this engine up out of the woods. And then we hauled the cast iron Keymax stove out piece by piece as well, dismantled it, and carried it up through the woods. And, you know, eventually we came to the conclusion that this was just not workable, and we had a bit of money. So we paid some guy, a local guy here, to come and demolish that shack and to haul away all the toxic stuff like batteries and oil cans and metal. That all went, and he was a reliable, trustworthy guy. I know that it went to the right place. Well, at least it went away from here. It's not in the woods. And then he set fire to this big pile of old, crappy old lumber, and he burnt this thing. I can't imagine the conflagration, the bonfire that happened that day. But we came back, and he had pushed this driveway down. It sort of went straight down the hill and cleared an area. And over the coming years, I don't know, 2 or 3 years later, we hired a carpenter to come down and build this thing. Minus no interior finish, even the outside wasn't finished, and then I did most of the work to it to finish the outside and inside. And eventually we had this new driveway pushed down. We bought that lot when it came up for sale, and we pushed the driveway down, and you know, that's the way these family cottages work, I guess. Some people just do it all at once. Well, we didn't have the resources. And anyways, we had a lot of fun together. Heather and I had a lot of fun out here, and we really enjoyed it. Heather loved going out for a kayak paddle by herself, going to look for loons, or taking Penney for a walk, or, you know, plucking weeds out of the driveway. I don't know. It's just, I don't even want to think about it because it makes me want to cry. So there we are. Little history lesson. Wow, that is awesome. He's got that pipe running right across there, cleaning out the ditch. That's going to be perfect. Wow. Fantastic. Oh yeah. Nice. Great. See, it pays to have professionals in. So 2 hours later, and the boys are done. And this looks great. This will pack down hard as concrete. This is perfect for drainage here. Looks like a mess now, but it'll be great this summer, because this will capture all the water. And then this is shale. This will pack down with concrete, this stuff. And there's my culvert, my drainage ditch. Runs across. So wonderful. No more washouts. Great stuff. Okay, so that was, well, 24 hours, a little more than 24 hours. I got the water hooked up, and just trying to acclimatize myself, I guess, for being out there alone. It was okay. Much better than I thought it would be, and much better than last time. So it's all part of the letting go process, and, you know, well, restarting my life, I guess, or getting used to it. So that's that. Back to Halifax. I'm going to visit a friend first in a community called New Germany, just outside of New Germany, in a place called Brandy Lane. And it's a guy I've known for 30 years, maybe. We used to play in a garage band together, and we've just, you know, been friends. Don't see much of each other these days, but definitely stay in touch. And so that's that. And then back to the city. Come on, Penny. Time to go back to town. Come on, gotta go in the car.